Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is the JRPG that keeps on giving. Not only have I spent hours enjoying every minute of the main story, I've absolutely doubled my playtime just to complete all the side quests. This is Ursula's new groove! You know, that was cute the first 400 times, but now it's the stuff of my nightmares. When will it end? But get this, I haven't even touched the DLC at all. I haven't bought the expansion pass yet. I don't know why, but I tend to make my purchases last minute, meaning the first day the content releases. Same thing happened with the other DLC passes, Zelda, Splatoon, Smash on the Wii U. It's not because of a lack of excitement or forgetfulness per se, it's more I'm afraid of commitment. Well, that explains a lot. However, thanks to my fear of commitment, I'll be picking up a physical copy of Torna, the Golden Country, along with the expansion pass. Unfortunately, that means I'll have to wait a week after everyone else. But no matter when you play it, Torna the Golden Country story expansion will be just as amazing. In fact, based on the trailers and footage we've seen so far, Torna might be even better than the main Xenoblade Chronicles 2 game. Before I show why, know there will be some Xenoblade 2 spoilers. If you haven't finished the main campaign, you might want to avoid watching certain sections of this video.
I'll never forget it. The day you set me free from a life of misery.
Xenoblade Chronicles 2 tells a simple boy meets girl and her second personality story. But simple in the mind of executive director and writer Tetsuya Takahashi would be deemed complicated to most. Although to Takahashi's credit, Xenoblade 2's plot is simpler when compared to the first game's twists, lore, and character development. That's not to say Xenoblade 2 doesn't have its own share of twists. Landing in Moritha for the first time certainly blew my mind, and finding the truth behind Elysium was shocking to the point where I was just as devastated as the main cast. The tie-in with Klaus and the Three Aegises built up the Xenoblade lore well and was a good surprise. However, there were a few plot points that were teased over and over again that I expected to be answered by the time the credits rolled. But then the game finished without filling these plot points in, basically slapping you in the face, insisting you use your imagination. There were three in particular that were driving points of the plot, but were never fully fleshed out, namely Laura's importance, the country of Torna, and Adam. Of the three, Laura is probably the character we know the most about. During the cutscene flashbacks, we see her as a young girl dealing with some daddy issues, as an adult fighting for Torna, and then her eventual heart transplant. It's pretty obvious she dies, but Xenoblade 2 never specifically explains what kind of a person she is. That said, a story doesn't need to explain every minute detail. In a way, leaving questions open about her character compels the player to piece together the kind of woman she is solely based on Jin's memories and love. At the same time, leaving her character alone in the main game allows the Torna DLC to explore her character more, giving us a first-hand look at why Jin loves her. I mean, I've heard of trophy wives, but not a trophy waifu. Midway through the main game, we see Laura frozen in a crystal coffin. Why? For what purpose is she encased in crystal? Maybe it's a memento for Jin to never forget her, because one of his biggest gripes against the architect is blades losing their memories. When a blade's driver dies, the blade reverts back to their core crystal form, losing any memory they had with that driver. Most of Jin's hate towards the creator comes from this concept. Perhaps his way of overcoming this problem is to put Laura in a cryogenic chamber of sorts so her body never decays, kinda like a blade. Or he just refuses to let Laura go. Either way, I'm sure Torna will fill in the gaps of Jin and Laura's relationship. Psst, why is Hinoka trapped in a crystal? Oh, that's Jin's deceased girlfriend. Yeah, you get used to it. In addition, Torna the Golden Country will cover Adam and Mithra defeating Malos, thus enraging Malthus, who destroys Torna on his own 500 years ago. All of this through the eyes of Laura and Jin. As for the country of Torna itself, we know bits and pieces, and these pieces were integral parts of the lore of Xenoblade 2. Again, a game doesn't have to go through every minute detail. In fact, it shouldn't. But I'm excited to see Torna's destruction and the eventual formation of Tantal. Wow, that makes me sound rather morbid. By the way, I guarantee right now, Adam's uncle Zeta will be the one heading the "Humans are the master, Titans are the tools" movement. Just look at that forehead. Only someone evil could have a skull like that. That brings us to the third unanswered question. Adam. I cannot be the only one who expected to see Adam's face at some point. Why hide it unless it's supposed to be some grand reveal? One of my theories as I played was Adam looking exactly like Rex, because he's Rex's ancestor, or Rex from the future who went to the past and died. That sounds complicated. But I did expect the face reveal to be somewhat impactful to the story. I guess in a sense it was shocking they didn't show his face, but there's no point in hiding it. Well, at least before they revealed Torna the Golden Country. It's almost as if they realized halfway through development that Xenoblade Chronicles 2's story was becoming way too big. So then they decided to leave some of the backstory details out of the main game, including Adam's face, and save them for potential DLC. Because you know that face is something you pay money to see. But there's more to Adam than just his gorgeous face. He played a crucial role in helping Rex understand his purpose as the true driver of the Aegis, accepting Mithra and Pyra's true power. Ironically, Adam himself was unable to fully accept the master driver role. Afraid to sacrifice Mithra, but also fearful of the destructive power of the Aegis, he thought the best way to save Allrest was to hide her from the world until someone was worthy of the power. Unfortunately, without Mithra to protect it, Torna was destroyed. Adam failed to protect it. Granted, a few continents were destroyed in the aftermath of Malos and Mithra's battle, but Adam's goals were much more forward-thinking. He knew if there was any hope for mankind and Blades, it was through the true form of the Aegis, Numa. And in the end, it worked out, and Rex was able to become the master driver, something Adam failed to do. Failure. That's the theme of the Torna DLC expansion. Adam failed to accept Mithra's true power. Mithra failed to control her power. Malos failed to beat Mithra. Torna failed to live as a nation where humans and Blades lived in harmony. Jin failed to protect Laura. You might as well call it Torna, the golden failure. However, it is these failures that set up Rex and Pyra's success. Usually, a DLC expansion offers more of the same gameplay from the base game, with some minor new features thrown here and there. Following that logic, Breath of the Wild's DLC, The Champion's Ballad, is more or less typical DLC, albeit good. Aside from new shrines and puzzles, the DLC didn't change the core gameplay at all. Although the Master Cycle Zero practically made horses obsolete. Why would I choose a horse when I could do that? It's so much cooler. There's nothing wrong with releasing more of the same game. DLC buyers usually enjoy the main game and then buy the DLC looking for more content. However, rarely do we see developers reimagine gameplay mechanics and features for a DLC expansion, but that's exactly what Monolith Soft is doing. DLC practice is an overbeaten topic best saved for another day, but you can't deny Monolith Soft is ambitiously pushing themselves to create a new yet familiar experience for the fans. In some ways, these changes may make Torna's gameplay better than the gameplay in the main game. The most obvious change is the battle system. Instead of controlling one driver who switches between 3 weapons, Torna the Golden Country allows you to play as anybody in your party, and this includes Blades. Take Laura and Jin for example. Obviously, Laura is the driver and Jin the blade, but during combat, you can switch between them. There's not a huge difference between that and switching weapons in Xenoblade 2, but there are some new perks. For one, each character has Vanguard and background art, meaning instead of just watching the person in front fight, the character in the back will fight back from time to time. Then when the time is right, you can switch characters at the press of a button. This opens up for quicker combo chains and battle times. Plus, every blade has their own element, and drivers can change their element based on their weapon of choice. If we look at the revealed party members so far, we can see we'll have at least one member for each element. With that in mind, switching between characters for their special arts and elemental advantages will play a key part in victory. On top of that, characters are now given 2 new arts, Switch Arts and Talent Arts. Switch Arts are fairly self-explanatory. They activate when you switch characters. Simple, but potentially effective when planning combos. Break with Laura, topple with Jin. Break with Laura, topple with Jin. Talent Arts, however, are more like standard arts, but with stronger effects. Fans of Xenoblade Chronicles will probably recognize this new mechanic, since Shulk and his party also use Talent Arts. Although these Talent Arts aren't as grand as, say, the Monado, but I'm sure they'll turn out to be quite useful. In fact, a lot of these changes remind me of combat in the first Xenoblade. It's like they wanted the combat to match the first game a little more. Of course, it's still without a doubt an extension of Xenoblade 2, but there are glimpses of Xenoblade 1 here and there that I like. For example, instead of creating a party controlled by the RNG gods, you have a fixed team like in the first game. Sure, there's less variety than in Xenoblade 2, but I appreciate smaller casts that I can get to know and customize to my liking. I feel more connected in that way. Putting combat aside, Torna the Golden Country also adds some neat quality of life improvements to the game. For example, you can switch through your party without going to the menu! I'm not just talking blades, but drivers too. This is beyond convenient. ES8 had a similar feature, and I remember wishing Xenoblade 2 did the same thing. And then Monolith Soft swooped down and said, "Your wish is my command." Thank you for listening, Monolith. There are also some UI changes in the main HUD and menu. In the top right corner, you can see what driver combos are active. And on the bottom left, we have an easier on the eyes design for the current driver and blades you control. The map and menu are also stylized to match Torna's gold theme. Another great improvement is the campfire. What a great way to streamline so many of the main game systems. I mean, there are a lot. Cooking, chatting, charm and accessory making, sleeping, all in one convenient place. I know part of the reason Xenoblade 2's systems were spread out like they were was for atmospheric purposes, but it's nice having all my crafting in one location. Also, Mithra's ability is, of course, bad cooking, proving once again Pyra is best Aegis. Graphically speaking, Torna is already quite the improvement. The main game has seen its share of updates, but Torna looks more polished and complete. This supports what I said in my Xenoblade review about how maybe Monolith should have delayed the game to polish it a bit more. Because if Torna is any indication, they clearly could have optimized the main game a bit more. Granted, the Torna DLC is a much smaller adventure, making it a little easier to polish. That said, Torna will definitely be the better looking game. Of course, we can't talk about Xenoblade without bringing up the music, and this DLC brings with it a new OST. Do you like jazz? They didn't have to do this. They could have brought the same epic music and no one would have complained. But where's the fun in that? Go big or go home is Monolith Soft's motto. Probably. I can't wait to battle and explore with these new songs. It's like, turn up that sax, baby! Although if I'm being honest, I still prefer the main game soundtrack, but these jazzed up songs are jamming. Yeah. However, there's one groundbreaking change that already places Torna the Golden Country miles above Xenoblade Chronicles 2 in greatness. No pulling blades. The worst part of Xenoblade 2 without question. And if you tell me you enjoyed, nay, moderately liked grinding for core crystals only to pull the same common blade time after time after time, well, you're officially a sick sadist in my book. Now, I like the rare blades and their unique designs, but trying to get all the rare blades is unnecessarily tedious and time consuming. It's one thing if I just suck at the game, a totally viable reason. It's another if I'm at the mercy of the RNG gods. Please, just let me pull Cosmos. That's gonna be a no from me, dog. I am relieved I don't have to find my strong party members through random pulls in Torna. I'd just play Fire Emblem Heroes if I wanted that.
Stop holding out on me!
I just want to save.
Monolith Soft likes to go all out in everything they do. They can be a tad too ambitious at times, but their passion to create epic, grand adventures is almost incomparable to any other developer, and that passion looks to be prevalent in Torna the Golden Country. With that in mind, it's not so bold to say this DLC will be better than the main game. Sure, the story may not be as surprising or impactful, but I think it will be a tragic setup to some of the best moments in Xenoblade 2. With new gameplay and improved mechanics, Torna might be considered the better game. Of course, I haven't played it yet, so I might be completely wrong with all of this. There are probably a few people who play the DLC before watching this and are laughing at my terrible conclusions, but I trust in Monolith Soft, and from what I've seen, I have no reason to doubt Torna the Golden Country will be incredible. Thank you so much for watching! Are you excited for the Torna DLC? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this. If you want to hear more about Xenoblade Chronicles 2, check out my review. I want to thank Chris, Chase, Rat MVP, My Echo, and Joseph for their amazing support on Patreon. If you would like to support our channel beyond just subscribing, please check our Patreon below. Goodbye, you good people.